So there's leads that take a little more time. There we go. Got it. So there's leads that take a little more time, a little more energy to get that really, man, they're good leads and good stuff. But a lot of people just, even though a lot of people just won't do the work, right? So what I'm going to do is I took and narrowed down that 53, went through them. I looked for stuff that was already, that still existed. That book's a few years old. There's some of those things in there that just really just doesn't, I don't want to say they don't exist anymore, but they're not as easily available, right? And I'm going to share with you guys the whole list here. And we're going to kind of go through this whole thing. And could you guys see me? Can you guys see this? Kind of give me a yes or no and let me know that you can. Okay, thank you guys. Hey, thank you guys. And everybody can hear me okay too, right? Cool. Cool. Thank you guys. So I'm live on Facebook too, but Zoom is actually a little better, a little more responsive for me. So guys, we got this list here. That's a lot of them. But I want to narrow this down to 25 for you guys, like what we talked about. If you want the book, I think the book's 99 cents on Amazon. Okay, so the first one we have is Craigslist for sale owners. Okay, so a lot of us are going, oh man, but a lot of those are agents. A lot of those are people that aren't really looking to sell. Well, the thing about it is no agents are really contacting those. The best ones on there are the ones without a lot of contact information. I'll tell you what you do is you get on Facebook or you get on Craigslist, you open up your email, and you send them an email that just says, hey, what's the best number to contact you? The problem that a lot of agents are having, and what a lot of agents do with these Craigslist leads, and they do the same thing with Facebook Marketplace leads too, is they take and they get on there and they literally they try to list it through initial email. And they want to send a big email that says, hey, my name's Jason Morris and I work for this company and I did this and this and this. And they literally send them a spam email where really the only thing you're doing is you're trying to get a phone number to contact them, and you're trying to get a time that they're available. So really you could send them an email that just says, hey, what's the best number to reach you at? And then the follow-up email is, hey, what's a good time to call you? And that's really the only thing that you got to do. And I promise you, people will respond to that. People will respond to that. So the second one we're going to go through here is Craigslist for rent by owners. Okay, so one thing that was really profitable for me in the past was contacting these for rent by owners and databasing them. Now, if you go to Redx does sell a subscription to for rent by owners where you just open up your laptop, they're already there, they're already input in a database. But you know what? It gets some, but it doesn't get all of them. But if you go through Craigslist for rent by owners every day and you're looking for the owners, not the agents, right? And you take and you contact them, you talk to them about their property, ask them if they're going to sell it. The rental market's still strong in a lot of places, but guys, I don't know if you guys are seeing this in your market, but rental rates are going down, and they're going down all over the place, right? And they're slowing down too. I mean, honestly, I don't know how some people are affording rent right now. Anyway, it's went up so much, but property values are probably going to follow those rent rates. And some of these people bought these things and they're barely breaking even anyway. And I got this idea, man, that a lot of landlords are not professional landlords. What they're doing is they own one property, they own two properties. And the way they ended up with it was they were buying a house, they're relocating somewhere. And instead of them, they couldn't sell it. So what they did was rent it out, or they inherited a property and they rented it out, and they've just been stuck in this rental cycle with it, right? Some of them don't keep up with the market. They don't keep up with the market the way that we do. And they don't realize that we're at a point here. I know that some of you guys are going to disagree, but we're at a point here where the market has tipped and the market's starting to go down again. So, or if you're not going down, you're definitely at the very, very peak and you're starting to slide down, guys. Pay attention quick. So a lot of these for rent by owners, they're one bad tenant away. They're $200 in a rent decrease away. They're just one aggravating event away. from wanting to put this on MLS. And guys, you know what? When I was really active and I was active as a real estate agent, um, one of the things I did was I database these things and I would send out email to them, and I try to send it out right at the end of the month, first of the month, somewhere there, because I wanted to catch these people while they're having a problem, right? While they hadn't got rent, right? While there's another mortgage payment due, or before there's another mortgage payment due, they got a bad tenant and they're trying to evict, whatever it is, right? You want to catch them at a point of pain, and sometimes we don't know when that point of pain is, so we have to keep following up with these people, right? And email them up, maybe some text messages, say, hey, how's everything going? You know, if you're real organized in your CRM with this database, you can save the community it's in, the address and stuff, and you can set it up with your MLS to send them emails as things are going on the market, off the market, right? Being bought, or going active and being sold. Now, number 3, and these are in no particular order. I didn't list them from, hey, the best one to the worst one or anything like that. I listed them just as I made the list, to be honest with you guys. So number three is sphere of influence. So here's the thing about your sphere of influence is, guys, everybody knows somebody looking to buy, sell, or rent, right? And we forget that sometimes that's going on. And what we need to do is we need to make sure we're keeping in contact with those people. Guys, I'm still doing referrals for my sphere of influence. And some of these people I haven't talked to in 8-10 years, man. And they are still calling me. They remember Jason Morris, and and some of them are trying to send me friends and family, right? Because I worked with them in the past, or because they just know me, right? There's people I grew up with. They're all like people I went to school with were all like early 40s and stuff. They're at the point where some of them are making money. Some of them can buy a second home. So their parents are looking at retiring. Their parents are buying a second home. I just referred a girl the other day to somebody from the town I grew up in, and it wasn't a big listing, but it was $100. I think it went under contract for about $160,000. My sphere of influence came from, right? So, guys, don't forget that none of us work that hard enough, right? Number four is something that we probably don't want to see or talk about, but you know what? It's a valid way to get leads is door knocking neighborhoods. When I first started in the business, is almost 20 years ago. One of the big practices was you'd go to a house, that was on the market, and you would door knock 5 to the right, 5 to the left, and 10 across the street, right? And previewing houses, a lot of agents don't do it. That practice seems to have died, and real estate offices used to do caravans and stuff like that. And the funny thing is, when we done that, when I was a new agent, I'd done that. I previewed these condos, previewed these houses. Said, man, I learned so much about the market, right? And the funny thing is, you ever notice how one house goes on the market and then it isn't long, and there's another house right down the street that goes on the market? Guys, that house that got listed yesterday, there is somebody else thinking about selling on the street based on what happens with that house, right? That house, if they get the price they're looking for, I said it in my neighborhood. It's one that went on the market. I said, oh man, if they get what they're looking for, I want to sell my house too, right? But door knocking neighborhoods and having a system to do it, man. A lot of people just go out there and they try to door knock everything, but previewing a house, door knocking 5 to the right, 5 to the left, 10 across the street, doing 2 or 3 of those a day, you're going to start getting some leads, and you're going to start getting a lot of stuff. Guys, a lot of you guys are in a little trouble. You're in a little trouble financially. You're trying to get caught up. You're talking about the market slow. You hadn't had a closing. Guys, a lot of you guys are one deal away from turning things around for yourself. A lot of you guys are one deal away from getting in or out of the business, right? Going further in or getting that other job and quitting. So number five here, delinquent tax records. Guys, if you go down to the courthouse, lots of times you can get this for free. It's a list they compile. And they especially do it right before the tax auctions. So for you guys that don't really know how this works, a lot of tax auctions, they auction off a tax deed. And then in most states, you have 12 months to redeem it. Some states are different. I really only know a lot about South Carolina because that's where I am and that's where I work. In South Carolina, we got 12 months. So guys, those people that are going to the tax auctions, right? Some of them, they just didn't get the tax bill. Some of them just forgot about the tax bill. Some of them have some hard times, whatever it may be. But that list is gold because they're behind on payments, right? And then after the auction, we'll go ahead and do this one. Number 6, Actually, we'll wait to get that. I don't mess up my I don't want to mess up my list, guys. So number 6 here is landlord evictions, right? So what I did for a long time was I actually had a VA that would go through the public records online, and they would pull all the evictions that have been filed in the last 30 days for me, right? Because this is a landlord. We know they're having a problem. You can look them up through public records. You guys can probably call your title company and get a list. You can go down to the courthouse and look it up yourself. You can probably look it up online, depends on your county. But landlord evictions, that's a landlord with a problem. If they're evicted, there's a good chance their property is left in a mess. You know, guys, and if they only got that one property, like we talked about, especially, I mean, I believe the economy's slowing down, at least in my area. I see it with the tourist season. The cars just aren't here. The hotel bookings aren't here like they were last year. A lot of these people are, you know, they don't have another $2, $3, $5,000 to clean up, put down a new carpet in a rental, right? 10,000, 15,000, dude. It isn't hard to have a $10,000 bill after eviction. And lots of times there's no way to go after that tenant. And even if you could, they're not going to pay. They're not going to pay for that, right? So that landlord eviction, and there's a lot of those just tired landlords looking to get rid of it. And a lot of them want to sell it as is. They don't want to deal with fixing it up or anything like that, right? So number 7, we talked about door knocking neighborhoods, but guys, you know what your MLS has every single day? Every single day, your MLS has a list of expired properties. And you can take that list, man. Pick the ones in your area, maybe around your house or around your office. Go knock on their door, leave something out there. A lot of agents, though, are going out there and they're trying to leave information to get the listing. What you really want is you want information so they contact you, or you want to go and actually catch them at home, right? And guys, we can talk about scripts. That'll be another one of these calls we'll have to do. But you know, a lot of agents show up on the door, they knock, knock, knock. Seller comes out to the door and they say, "Hey, let me list your house. I seen your house expired. Let me list it." Where their first question really should be, "Hey, Mr. Seller, I saw that you want to sell this house. Are you still want to sell it?" Right? Because that's what's important, right? Do they want to sell the house or not? So number eight out of 25, guys. We're moving right along through these. Number 8, foreclosure auction list. So some counties you have to pay for it, and you have to get it through a title company unless you have the knowledge and go look it up yourself, right? However, there's a lot of counties, especially some of these small ones, that you can get the list. I want to say that it has to be advertised 3 weeks in a lot of states, but check your states. I don't know anything about anywhere except for South Carolina, right? But there's an auction list that comes out before the foreclosures, and a lot of times you can get that list 2, 3, 4 weeks in advance, and there's people still living in those houses, and you can go out there and list that house for a reasonable amount right now, and you can get it pulled from the auction, right? Just having the listing agreement. Now you can't wait. Say the auction's Monday and you go get paperwork on Friday. That's going to be kind of tough for you. But if you can get that a week ahead, 2 weeks ahead, then what you can do is you can get that property on the market. You can contact the bank, have them contact the bank, send over your listing stuff, send over where it is on the market. And a lot of times, if they had had a delay already in the foreclosure auction and their house going auction, then guys, they will, a lot of banks will pull that from there. They don't want the house. They just want their money. That's all. So number nine, open houses. Guys, I'm not a fan, to be honest with you guys. I'm not a big open house person. I never really liked the idea, but that's me as an agent, right? That's me as a person. But I'll tell you what, I did them. The most productive open houses I ever done were the ones where I went the day before, door knocked the whole neighborhood, stuck out a flyer saying, "Hey, here's our open house," right? And then, and guys, if you guys have Red X Geo leads, you can actually pull the neighborhood, and you can actually do phone calls, you can do voicemail drops. Sometimes you can do emails. You can take those emails and retarget. And Geo leads, I want to say, is like $40 a month, right? So, we're talking about being very inexpensive if you go the Geo leads route. But honestly, if you're willing to just sweat a little bit and work a little bit, you can go knock on the neighborhoods and you can stick a flyer out in each door. And if you really want to be effective, you have the open house, you stick out some signs, you stick out some balloons, you do the open house. People are going to show up, right? If there's a couple that comes in, that's not one person, that's 2 people, right? Have them sign in. The day after the open house, you call the neighborhood again, you door knock the neighborhood, whatever it is. Every person you talk to, you talk about how many people showed up to the open house, ask them if there's anybody else that wants to sell in the neighborhood. Right? I guarantee you somebody in that neighborhood wants to sell. Somebody's going to come to that open house for the sole purpose of their comparing that house to their house and thinking about putting their house on the market. I guarantee you nosy neighbors are doing that. I've listed houses from these. I've actually sold buyers' houses. And years ago, man, the market was slow. We were actually selling the house, right? So number 10, driving areas looking for sale by owners, right? Driving around the area and just looking, right? And we're going to talk about getting out there and driving for 8 hours, right? Work this into your schedule where like, hey, you got an appointment, you got somewhere you got to be, you leave 30 minutes early, you cut through a couple of neighborhoods in the area, you drive around the neighborhood where you got the appointment, right? You look for the for sale by owner signs. And I guarantee you guys, if you do it, people are doing, I'm seeing more signs in my market than forever right now, that I haven't forever. And you know what? A year ago, people would stick the sign out in front. They'd have 3 offers today. It's not like that anymore in a lot of markets. So number 11, Facebook buy sell groups. Facebook buy sell groups. Guys, there's a lot of people in these groups. You guys like what we're talking about? Kind of give me a thumbs up if you do. Raise your hand if you're here on Zoom. Okay, we'll keep going. For Facebook buy and sell groups, guys, there's a lot of these buy and sell groups. People aren't really posting it on Marketplace. They're just posting in that group, man. You're spending 10 minutes scrolling down through the big ones and stuff, even the small ones and stuff. Guys, you can find a lot of deals on there. And I'll tell you what, the problem a lot of agents are having in Marketplace with these for sale owners is they try to send a message and they try to list it over a message. You can't do that. Really what you need to do is send a message. Hey, what's the best number to reach you at? Wait till you get the phone number and say, hey, when's a good time to contact you? And then call them. That's what you have to do. Number 12 is a big one here that I don't know anybody really doing this. I used to pull these, and they're a little bit of work, but you can pull them. Some counties you can do it online, right? You can hire a VA to do it. You get a title company to do it for you. There's a lot of options if you just don't have time to do it yourself. But if you consistently do it, municipality filings, right? This is where the municipality, the county, the city has filed some sort of a code violation, right? And guys, it's happening in your markets right now, right? The other day I heard about this guy that built a garage onto his house and didn't pull the first permit. And what ended up happening was he didn't have any trouble. He finished it like a year ago. The problem is they're doing tax assessments in the county again, and a code enforcement person, basically, they did the tax assessment. And they're like, wait a second, this house is significantly bigger than what it was before. Then they sent a code enforcement person out there to research it. They never pulled a permit. So now that person has to go through a process. And guys, you know what, depending on where you're at, man, they might have to tear down that porch. They might have to tear down that garage. They might have to, they done repairs without a permit or whatever, and they got caught doing it. Sometimes it's a big deal. Sometimes their yard is unkept. There was one a while back that I went and looked at that, man, they probably had 100 junk cars, and people kept complaining. Eventually, code enforcement came out and said, hey, we got to do something with this. And they gave the people 30 days to remove all these cars. And you think about it, to remove 100 cars from your property, God, man, it's going to take you forever. And that person may have not had the money to do it. So, and that's it too. Like that person with the garage, they might not have had the money to go through that process again. They just paid for this garage addition without permits. What do you do after that? You know what I mean? If you don't have the money, do you tear it down? I mean, if the county comes in, they could condemn it. I mean, there's a lot of options, and some of these counties are tough, man, depending on where you're at. Number 13, something that we probably all should be really working on right now. And especially the way the market seems like it's heading with interest rates and stuff, small local bank foreclosures, right? Guys, a lot of these local banks, if you got them in your market, they've only been around 3, 4, 5 years. They might have never done a foreclosure before, right? And they don't have that department, and they don't have that person that's assigning BPOs and stuff. And the way to do this, man, years ago, we went through a process, and I'd done some of this with the team I had. And what we're doing is contacting banks and offering to do the BPOs for free. And then we created a one-page sheet that was basically a one-page resume showing our team and what we could do for you. Right? We had the people available for cleanouts. We had the people available for lock changes. We had the vendors and everything set up. We had all of this stuff. We had an attorney on the team, right? And these small banks, guys, a lot of them in your market, dude, they might not have done a foreclosure in 5 years, right? The market's been good, man. A lot of you agents have only worked in an up market. So, guys, if we take and really focus on those small bank foreclosures, you guys can make some traction there. But it's going to be some work. It's going to be some follow up. It's going to be figuring out who the person is to get in touch with it. But guys, some of these local banks with 1, 2 branches, 3 branches, God, you can call and you can get the bank president on the phone this afternoon. I promise you. Especially if you're like in a smaller town, guys, that is without a doubt, man, without a doubt, that's going to be a big business here in the future if the economy and interest rates keep going, right? Or I believe it is. I believe it is. I believe that some of those relationships are stuff that you should start building like immediately, right? So number 14, small home builders. So guys, this is going to be a big one too here. Here coming up is a lot of these small home builders right now. If your market's settling down, I had a guy tell me the other day he's been building spec homes, and a year and a half ago he was selling them for $279,900. No problems, whatever. He had them under contract before they were finished, right? He'd start building, have a contract. Usually by the time they were framing it up, he had a contract. Now, because of interest rates, I think he told me he's selling at $239,900, and it's the same payment that he had at $279,900, the end buyer, right? But he's not getting contracts like he was before. Guys, there's a lot of these small builders. If your market's slowing down, there's a lot of these small builders, man, that they're starting to, prices are going to have to come down for them a little bit. They're a little frustrated with their agent. They've got an agent that's been an all-star for them the last 4 years. But the problem is it wasn't the agent that was the all-star, man. It was the market that was the all-star. So contacting these small builders, some of them have lots, some of them have inventory. And maybe you can't list that house they're building right now, but maybe they got 5 lots over there they want to get rid of. That they're like, hey, I don't want to get caught with these, you know? And guys, some of these small builders are going to get caught with these. And you can start building these relationships because they're going to be some of them that are in trouble and they're going to want to dump stuff. Right? Number 15, I think this is really interesting. And I think this is something that is going to be a, it's kind of funny. And I think some of these markets, we've seen these big flat fee companies closing down, right? Guys, if you go to pull up your MLS for a lot of these flat fee companies, I'll tell you a secret. You look in Agent Marks, and the phone number for the seller is in there. My local MLS, I promise you, it's like that in a lot of your MLSs too. You can go back the last year, man, pull all the expireds from those flat fee companies. Look through them, man, print out the ones that have the number in it, and you probably have the seller's cell phone number. You might even have the seller's email address, man, in there. So number 16, guys, I know a lot of you guys listen to this. You're wholesaling property and you're looking for different ways to make money as a realtor or make money with your real estate experience. I don't agree with wholesaling as a real estate agent. I think it's a real gray area. I think as an agent, you should not do it, right? But man, there's a lot of vacant homes. And one thing that you guys all should be doing is having a notepad in your car with you. When you're riding around, you're riding to that appointment, right? You're picking up your kids from school. You're taking your kids wherever it is. When you see that vacant house, it's clearly vacant. Grass is knee high. It looks unkept. It's clearly vacant. Pull over, get the address on it, maybe snap a picture with your phone, make some notes there. And guys, if you're using something like Red XGL Leads, you can do one-off lookups and you can pull that up, dude. And you can tell them I sent you it. They'll waive the setup cost. But those vacant homes, man, are vacant. Typically, they're vacant for a reason. Usually it's because they couldn't sell it. Or maybe it wasn't quite good enough shape to be able to rent it, right? But a lot of those vacant homes, man, those people would like to sell it just for some reason. It just isn't a priority for them today. Right? And I get it, man. Life's busy for everybody. And sometimes, man, you need to get rid of that house. But hey, grandma left it to me. We don't have a mortgage on it. So it's not at the forefront because it's not a today problem for them. right? But if they sell today, man, they're going to put a check in their pocket and they're going to be able to walk away with that and not have to deal with it anymore. The longer it sits, the worse shape it's going to be in, and the more it's going to deteriorate. Number 17. Number 17 is man, I think number 17 is probably one of my favorite ones. HOA liens, right? If you guys go down to the courthouse, you get on your county website, you talk to a title company, man, you can get a list of the HOA liens being filed every month or every week, or, however you want to do it. But man, nobody's really selling these. No, these aren't leads that you can go out and buy and subscribe to, right? But you can go out there and you can look up HOAs and you can find HOA liens. I'll tell you, a big one is to look for HOAs in your market that are doing assessments, right? We just had one in my market. I was talking to somebody the other day, and she was telling me that she paid $85,000 in assessments. And, you look at that and you go like, wow, man, most people can't afford that. And if they couldn't pay those assessments, the HOA liens their property. And if it isn't paid, or at least something's worked out, the HOA is eventually going to foreclose on it. Guys, there was one, I was talking to a friend of mine about the auction list here last month. There was one, people paid cash for it 2 years ago. HOAs foreclosing on it because they closed on it with cash and never paid an HOA fee. I mean, that person has either been extremely informed, the HOA didn't notify them, or, man, they paid cash and something happened in their life, right? And they're going to lose like a $200,000 property over like $10,000, $12,000 in HOA fees if they don't get it together and do something, right? So number 18, number 18 is kind of funny, man, but I used to do this all the time, especially when I was a new agent. I was broke. I couldn't afford to go out here and subscribe to a lot of stuff. But guys, believe it or not, man, even though this is 15, 20 years later, people are still running classified ads. Right? They're still putting for sale by owners in newspapers, right? And I mean, let's be honest, who do we know that subscribes to a newspaper? Dude, I haven't subscribed to a newspaper. God, I don't know if I've ever subscribed to a newspaper. But if you go down to your library, your local library, most of the time the library keeps 6 months of every local newspaper on file. So you can go in there, you can request them, and you can sit there at the desk and you can flip through the classifieds and every one of them. And guys, I'm not saying you're going to find 1,000 leads in the last 6 months, but whatever you find, a lot of these people ran it for a weekend. Maybe they ran it for a week here, a week there, and then nothing happened. They just moved on. They still want to sell the house, but they didn't really know another way, right? But library newspapers. Number 19. Sorry about that. Number 19, guys. Guys, you know what I think is really funny? This is something that we never do as agents. A lot of agents don't ask good questions, man. And some of these scripts are ridiculous that we see. And, they ask them where you're going to move to and what are you going to do with your cat when you get there, right? But they don't ask them about any important things, like you got a buyer calling you. And they're saying, hey, Jason, I want to move to the Myrtle Beach area. Or, hey, I want to buy a property. I'm interested in this property over here. Guys, in your initial script, one thing you should be asking is, oh, well, do you own your house where you're at now? Do you own any property in the area? Right? And guys, sometimes, man, I'm not saying that you have to do this with all of them, because some of you guys are getting overwhelmed with buyer leads. But man, sometimes you might want to plug their number in the local tax records. I did that with a guy. This was years ago, but I was talking to the guy. I looked him up. It turned out he owned the house that we were selling, right? When I looked him up, man, he also had an 8-acre tract of land, and he owned 2 more houses. He did not mention this to me at all, right? So next conversation I had with him, we got the property, we got the paperwork stuff signed for listing. We put it on the market. We started getting some showings. I had a phone call with him, and on the phone call, I said, hey, Mr. Seller, hey, I was looking at the tax records. I saw where you own a couple more properties too. Do you have any of those you're thinking about selling too? Once we got this other one under contract, I listed 8 acres of land for him, right? And there's been so many times over the years I've done stuff like that. But ask your buyer leads, do you have another house you want to sell? Sometimes, guys, you would be surprised who owns property that their grandparents left them, their parents left them, somehow or another they acquired it, and it's a lot that sits out in the middle of nowhere, and taxes on it are $100 a year, right? Or it's a house that's sitting out in the middle of nowhere. The house really isn't livable. But guys, there's a buyer for that house, right? We forget that. We forget that not everybody is looking for a pretty home. There are buyers out there have a lot of construction experience and a lot of rehab experience, and they're looking for that old house. There's investors looking for that old house, right? So ask your buyer, start adding that in your script. Call your buyer when you're calling through your buyer leads and you're prospecting through your list, which you guys should be doing. You should be asking them as part of the call is, hey, do you already own any property in the area, right? And guys, you know what? Let's say if they're moving from New Jersey and they're moving to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, right? Dude, there's a house in New Jersey maybe that they got to sell, and guess what? They might not have that on the market with a realtor right now. And if you ask them, hey, well, do you have a house up there you need to sell before you can buy, or do you have a house up there you want to sell? Guys, you can refer that out, makes money, right? There's some opportunity there. Number 20. Now, some of these do require us to do a little legwork, man. And the courthouse, a lot of agents don't understand this, man, but the courthouse, your local courthouse filings, man, have a ton of leads in it, dude. There's more leads right now at your courthouse that was filed this week than you and I can work. I promise you. It's got to be a little creative, and you got to learn how to find them, or either hire somebody that can find them. And guys, I'll tell you this, man. There are people sitting in the courthouse right now working for a title company, and they're on a contract basis, that if you went there, asked around a little bit, there's one of them in there that would probably be willing to look up some of this stuff very inexpensively, right? So probate leads, though. Probate leads are available at your courthouse. Guys, there's attorneys in your area too, man. They're specializing in probate. And they're specializing in probate. And if that's a market that you really want to get involved in, guys, you should be going out there talking to those probate attorneys, dropping off some information by them. It's going to be about networking, working with probate attorneys. But a lot of those leads, man, they're sitting in the courthouse right now. And there's a lot of agents that are not working them. Right? Number 21, this is kind of a given. You know what? And I meant to talk about this earlier. I mentioned this earlier, and then anyway, is expired listing door knocking, right? Door knocking around those expired listings, door knocking around those withdrawal listings, things like that. Number 22 is zoning meetings. So guys, I promise you, your courthouse and your local municipality has a zoning meeting, typically once a month, right? Where they read things, there are people subdividing lots, there are people asking for variances, there are all kind of stuff going on. There's subdivisions getting approved there. And, agents will talk about, those foreclosure auctions are the same way, by the way. There are guys sitting in those foreclosure auctions that are investors that have cash or access to lots of cash, and you don't know them because you're not going to that auction. That's their main source of leads for the rehabs and flips and stuff they're doing. But these zoning meetings, man, there's a lot of people there that, hey, you know what? They're cutting this piece of property with intentions to sell the other half. They're cutting that piece of property so they can build two houses instead of one. They're trying to get a subdivision approved. If you really want to network with people that are doing real estate stuff, a lot of people talk, and I didn't put this on the list, there's real estate investment meetings, right? I didn't put that on the list. That's a good place to network. I went to them and I met people before. But I'll tell you what, man, that zoning meeting, that's people doing real estate business in there. There's people with real estate problems in there. Guys, there's people right now. I got a friend of mine right now that was talking about, he had a property inherited. Long story short is they put power lines across the back of the property. Nobody ever notified his dad. There's no record of being notified. They've been there like for 10, 15 years. He's to build a house on it now. The electric company will not move the power lines. So he's going and asking for a variance. Now, personally, I think he's going to get it. I mean, what he's asking for only affects his property. He's not asking for much. He'll probably get it, right? But, guys, I had one a while back that this client of mine bought a lot, pulled a double wide, a used mobile home to the lot, goes to the county to pull the permit, and, man, guess what? That mobile home, that lot, even though it had a mobile home on it previously, you could see the tie downs in the ground where the old mobile home still used to be. But that lot had a deed restriction that wouldn't allow mobile homes, and because it had been so long since that mobile home had pulled off, the new one couldn't be grandfathered in, right? So anyway, the lot was useless to the guy. And so that guy needed to sell that lot. He went and asked for a variance. He did 2 out of 3 ratings. He got turned down twice. He sold the lot, guys. There are people in these zoning meetings with problems that the county is not going to allow them to do. And what they're going to do if they can't do with it what they want, they're going to sell it, right? And they're going to need an agent. Number 23, we kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier. We talked about probate leads, and I mentioned probate attorneys. Guys, there's family court attorneys out there, right? There's divorce attorneys out there, right? And they're looking for an agent that'll do a BPO on something so they can kind of establish value. And guys, there's a lot of these out there that, man, they get to court and the judge orders them to sell assets, right? Guys, networking with these divorce attorneys, man, if you're looking for leads and you're looking for a creative way, man, call them up, stop them by the office, dropping off information about you and your team and how you work with divorce, offer to do free broker price opinions, right? Man, there's a lot of opportunity there that honestly, man, I don't know many agents really taking advantage of it. So number 24, we talked about small builders, but you know what, man? Building permits, the people pulling building permits. There's a lot of guys out there that invested in new construction. They got a small builder working for them, or they got a builder working for them, right? They're pulling the building permits themselves. Guys, there's a lot of stuff going on with those building permits. Dude, and remodeling permits too. There's people out there remodeling houses to put them on the market, and they don't have an agent. They just started their project. They just pulled the permit that the county's requiring, guys, and they really need somebody. And there's a lot of leads in those building permits, man. So number 25, we're going to wrap this up here. Number 25 is properties in litigation, right? Now, one of my favorite ones is HOA litigation, right? Because if it's a condo complex, there's litigation. All of a sudden, as soon as that's filed, man, it's public knowledge. And it's going to come up. It's going to come up in the title search for sure. But as soon as that's public knowledge, man, it's going to be hard to get financing. And you know what? A lot of banks are going to require 20, 25, 30% down on it. And anyway, man, that is a great source of leads because there's some people there. They want to sell the house, dude. Their agent don't really know what to do. The agent don't really. A lot of times it becomes what they call a non-awardable condo. And you go out there, network with a couple of your lenders, ask, hey, can you finance non-awardable condos, right? And then you start approaching these people in litigation. You can door knock, you send mailers, you can use something like GeoLeads from RedX, call the whole community, right? And you can go out there and really, really go after those. And in the past, man, HOA litigation was a big lead source for me in the past. A lot of times the agents would go, oh, well, you're just cold calling the community. No. You're not cold calling the community. You're calling people with a problem and you're calling them about fixing that problem. And remember that, guys, a lot of the people on this list that we talked about, the deal is they have a problem and you're calling them with a helping heart and you're calling them to help them fix the problem, right? You're not technically, of course, you want the listing, right? But you're calling them to help them fix that problem. Guys, and if we keep that in mind, man, there's a lot of opportunity. Guys, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. You can send me a message through Facebook. Guys, I mentioned GeoLeads quite a bit. RedX offers a lot of stuff. If you go to jasonmorrisredx.com, you can, they waive the $150 setup fee. If you call RedX and tell them Jason Morris sent you or you're in my Facebook group, Real Estate Agents That Really Work, then they will waive that $150 setup fee. And sometimes they have some package deals and different things like that too. So if I can help you, reach out to me, guys. And I hope you guys have a great day.